Looks like we are streaming. Just need to verify. Yeah. Let's see. No, we are still offline. Sorry. Okay. That happened. Okay, we are. Sorry, that was embarrassing. Okay, well, welcome back everyone to another session. This is session number 35 of the Advent of Divine Justice with Ehsan Bayat. And I'm going to go ahead and share the screen for our prayer. And then we will get started. Sure. Does everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
But there's no prayer on it.
Oh, of course, that's the wrong screen. Sorry. There it is. This is the prayer for the Southern States revealed to the Bahá'ís of the Southern States. Oh my God, thou seest me in my loneliness and weakness, occupied with the greatest undertaking, determined to raise thy word among the masses and to spread thy teachings among thy peoples. How can I succeed unless thou assist me with the breath of the Holy Spirit? Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious kingdom and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, and an atom into lights and suns. O my Lord, assist me with thy triumphant and effective might, so that my tongue may utter thy praises and attributes among all people, and my soul overflow with the wine of thy love and knowledge. Thou art the omnipotent and the doer of whatsoever thou willest. Thank you. And Ehsan, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Thank you for your recitation of that prayer. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So, dear friends, we're going to get back into our study of the Advent of Divine Justice. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, here we go. So we are studying the Advent of Divine Justice. And if you ask me, Ehsan, what is the Advent of Divine Justice? If this is your first class and you're joining us at this point, I would say, first of all, this is the Advent of Divine Justice. This is a letter that was written December 25th, 1938 by the beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi, okay? And he wrote this to the North American Baha'i community, United States and Canada. And this was a letter to encourage, bolster, and propel that community to victory in the teaching work, as well as to inform that community, especially of the crises that are affecting it, and namely materialism, namely corruption, as well as racial prejudices that are affecting it, as well as these are forces that are in the greater society that are also prevalent. And so to equip the American Baha'i community with the armor, per se, to take on the challenges. And so the beloved guardian informed the Baha'i community that there are spiritual prerequisites for the success of all plans that are necessary, that the Baha'is need to equip themselves, take on these spiritual prerequisites of rectitude of conduct, a chaste and holy life, as well as freedom from all racial prejudices. So he said, take on these as an armor to protect yourselves. Then the beloved guardian, in the advent of divine justice, says that this is not just all you have to do. You also have to equip yourselves in your knowledge of, so this is in paragraph 75. He says, if you want to undertake the task of teaching, the duty of teaching, the honor and privilege of teaching, then you have first and foremost have to teach yourself. Okay? And he says that you have to study the tenets, the facts, the knowledge, and undertake the study of the writings, as well as the fundamentals of Islam, to become knowledgeable, to be able to teach the cause, right? And then, so this is in paragraph 75. And then he also gives you continuous guidelines on how to teach. So we've been undergoing the guidelines, and all of these are for pioneering. As you remember, in 1937, it was the first 7-year plan launch, and this was written in 1938. So the beloved guardian is informing the Baha'i world on how to undertake pioneering work. And this was for the purpose of the pioneers going to the Latin American countries. So this is where we are. We're now picking up in paragraphs 95 through 102. Okay, and in these paragraph set, the beloved guardian is now continuing giving more instructions to his champion stewards, the North American Baha'i community, more counsels on how to pioneer, how to undertake the teaching work. As well as he's also giving instructions, and these are incredibly loving guidance on the role of teaching, that it is a limitless reward. If you open your mouth, if you teach the cause, the reward is limitless. Then one line in this paragraph set, the beloved guardian highlights handmaidens of Baha'u'llah in the West. This is an incredible line, okay? Now, and sentence structure that highlights the incredibleness of the ladies. So I was so blown away by this, and me being Ehsan, and when I highlight something, I go all in. So I wanted to, this entire set, I wanted to highlight all obviously not all, there's so many wonderful ladies, but some of the major ladies during this period of this letter, okay? So I just wanted to show you how many awesome ladies, handmaidens of Baha'u'llah, and who they were, okay? That the beloved guardian, not by name, but by deed, mentions here, okay? So this is because the beloved guardian mentions them, okay? As well as two other things that are also mentioned in paragraph 102 and 101 is the beloved guardian mentions Baha'i youth. There's a whole paragraph dedicated to Baha'i youth, which is in the whole letter. The beloved guardian gives a whole paragraph in his, out of 124 paragraphs, to Baha'i youth, okay? As well as there's also a paragraph dedicated to Panama. So the significance of Panama, and that Panama also comes up in the tablets of the divine plan. Okay, so let's read these, and then we're going to get into this section. This is such one of my favorite paragraph sets in the whole Advent because of really this Handmaidens of Baha'u'llah in the West section that I've put in here for you, so you could see these incredible ladies. Okay. So in our last section, I wasn't with you last time, but I wanted to pull this extract because this paragraph, this quote is really pertinent to this section, okay? So I'm going to read this for you. If only the friends could realize it. The glory of our faith is not that people with unique abilities do the work of the cause, but that it is done by the sacrifice of loving and devoted souls who arise selflessly to undertake work they feel themselves incompetent, sometimes to achieve. God works through them and endows them with gifts they did not dream they could ever possess. So, dear friends, I want you to remember this extract. How do these people work? They work selflessly. They sacrifice. These are loving and devoted souls. And it's through their absolute selflessness and sacrifice that God works through them and endows them with gifts. Okay? So, dear friends, let's get into it, okay? So I'll read the first paragraph and we'll go around, okay? Here we go. This is paragraph 95. And if you say, Ehsan, where is this in my Advent of Divine Justice? Okay, so if you have this one right here, Advent of Divine Justice, paragraph 95, it's on page 98. If you have the smaller edition, it starts every laborer in these fields. If you have the smaller Advent of Divine Justice, it starts on page 65. And if you have the older Advent of Divine Justice, it starts on the bottom of page 54. Okay, there you go. So let's get into it. Every laborer in those fields, whether as traveling teacher or settler, should, I feel, make it his chief and constant concern to mix in a friendly manner with all sections of the population, irrespective of class, creed, nationality, or color, to familiarize himself with their ideas, tastes, and habits, to study the approach best suited to them, to concentrate patiently and tactfully on a few who have shown marked capacity and receptivity, and to endeavor with extreme kindness to implant such a love, zeal, and devotion in their hearts as to enable them to become in turn self-sufficient and independent promoters of the faith in their respective localities. Consort with all men, O people of Baha, is Baha'u'llah's admonition, in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. If ye be aware of a certain truth, if ye possess a jewel of which others are deprived, share it with them in a language of utmost kindliness and goodwill. If it be accepted, if it fulfill its purpose, your object is attained. If anyone should refuse it, leave him unto himself, and beseech God to guide him. Beware lest ye deal unkindly with him. A kindly tongue is the lodestone of the hearts of men. It is the bread of the spirit. It clotheth the words of meaning. It is the fountain of the light of wisdom and understanding. All right, let's go to dear Scott.
Paragraph 96. An effort, moreover, can and should be made not only by representative Baha'i bodies, but also by prospective teachers, as well as by other individual believers, deprived of the privilege of visiting those shores or of settling on that continent, to seize every opportunity that presents itself to make the acquaintance and awaken the genuine interest of such people who are either citizens of these countries or are in any way connected with them, whatever be their interests or professions, through the kindness shown them or any literature which may be given them or any connection which they may establish with them. The American believers can thereby sow such seeds in their hearts as might, in future circumstances, germinate and yield the most unexpected results. Care, however, should at all times be exercised, lest in their eagerness to further the international interests of the faith, they frustrate their purpose and turn away through any act that might be misconstrued as an attempt to proselytize and bring undue pressure upon them, those whom they wish to win over to their cause.
Thank you, dear Scott. I would particularly direct my appeal to those American believers, so oppressed as they are by the manifold, the urgent, and ever-increasing issues that confront them at the present hour, who may find it possible, whatever be their calling or employment, whether as businessmen, school teachers, lawyers, doctors, writers, office workers, and the like, to establish permanently their residence in such countries as may offer them a reasonable prospect of earning the means of livelihood. They will be their action be relieving the continually increasing pressure on their teaching fund, which in view of its restricted dimensions must provide, when not otherwise available, the traveling and other expenses to be incurred in connection with the development of this vast undertaking. Should they find it impossible to take advantage of so rare and sacred a privilege, let them, mindful of the words of Baha'u'llah, determine each according to the means at his or her disposal, to appoint a deputy who, on that believer's behalf, will arise and carry out so noble an enterprise. Center your energies, are Baha'u'llah's words, in the propagation of the faith of God. Whoso is worthy of so high a calling, let him arise and promote it. Whoso is unable, it is his duty to appoint him who will in his stead proclaim this revelation, whose power hath caused the foundations of the mightiest structures to quake, every mountain to be crushed into dust, and every soul to be dumbfounded. And paragraph 98. Miss Rose, could you kindly read this one? If you're with us.
I'll read it.
Go for it. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you.
Paragraph 98. As to those who have been able to leave their homes and country and to serve in those regions, whether temporarily or permanently, a special duty, which must continually be borne in mind, devolves upon them. It should be one of their chief aims to keep, on the one hand, in constant touch with the National Committee specifically entrusted with the promotion of their work, and to cooperate, on the other, by every means possible and in the utmost harmony with their fellow believers in those countries. Whatever the field in which they labor, whatever their standing, ability, or experience, through the performance of their first duty, they will derive the necessary stimulus and obtain the necessary guidance that will enable them to prosecute effectively their mission, and will also, through their regular reports to that committee, be imparting to the general body of the fellow believers the news of the latest developments in their activities. By fulfilling their other duty, they will ensure the smooth efficiency, facilitate the progress, and avert any untoward incidents that might handicap the development of their common enterprise. The maintenance of close contact and harmonious relationships between the Inter-America Committee entrusted with the immediate responsibility of organizing such a far-reaching enterprise and the privileged pioneers who are actually executing that enterprise and extending its ramifications far and wide, as well as among these pioneers themselves, would set apart from its immediate advantages a worthy and inspiring example to generations still yet to be born, who are to carry on, with all its increasing complexities, the work which is being initiated at present. Is there more?
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, dear Jeremiah. It would no doubt be of exceptional importance and value, particularly in these times when the various restrictions imposed in those countries make it difficult for a considerable number of Baha'i pioneers to establish their residence and earn their livelihood in those states. If certain ones among the believers whose income, however slender, provides them with the means of an independent existence, would so arrange their affairs as to be able to reside indefinitely in those countries. The sacrifices involved, the courage, faith, and perseverance it demands are no doubt very great. Their value, however, can never be properly assessed at the present time, and the limitless reward which they who demonstrate them will receive can never be adequately depicted. They that have forsaken their country, is Baha'u'llah's own testimony, for the purpose of teaching our cause, these shall the faithful spirit strengthen through its power. By my life, no act, however great, can compare with it, except such deeds as have been ordained by God, the all-powerful, the most mighty. Such a service is indeed the prince of all goodly deeds, and the ornament of every goodly act. Such a reward, it should be noted, is not to be regarded as purely an abstract blessing confined to the future life, but also as a tangible benefit with such courage, faith, and perseverance can alone confer in this material world. The solid achievements, spiritual as well as administrative, which in the faraway continent of Australasia and more recently in Bulgaria, representative believers from both Canada and the United States have accomplished, proclaim in terms unmistakable the nature of those prizes which, even in this world, such sterling heroism is bound to win. Whoso, Baha'u'llah in a memorable passage, extolling those of his loved ones who have journeyed through the countries in his name and for his praise, has written, hath attained their presence, will glory in their meeting, and all that dwell in every land will be illumined by their memory. All right. And dear Scott, paragraph 100.
Sure. I am moved at this juncture as I am reminded of the share which, ever since the inception of the faith in the West, the handmaidens of Baha'u'llah, as distinguished from the men, have had in opening up single-handed so many such diversified and widely scattered countries over the whole surface of the globe, not only to pay a tribute to such apostolic fervor as is truly reminiscent of those heroic men who were responsible for the birth of the faith of Baha'u'llah, but also to stress the significance of such a preponderating share, which the women of the West have had and are having in the establishment of his faith throughout the whole world. Among the miracles, Abdu'l-Baha has testified, which distinguish this sacred dispensation, is this, that women have evinced a greater boldness than men when enlisted in the ranks of the faith. So great and splendid a testimony applies in particular to the West, and though it has received thus far abundant and convincing confirmation, must, as the years roll away, be further reinforced as the American believers usher in the most glorious phase of their teaching activities under the 7-year plan. The boldness which, in the words of Abdu'l-Baha, has characterized their accomplishments in the past must suffer no eclipse as they stand on the threshold of still greater and nobler accomplishments. Nay, rather, it must, in the course of time and throughout the length and breadth of the vast and virgin territories of Latin America, be more convincingly demonstrated and win for the beloved cause victories more stirring than any it has as yet achieved.
Awesomely read. Thank you, dear Scott. And paragraph 101. To the Baha'i youth of America, moreover, I feel a word should be addressed in particular, as I survey the possibilities which a campaign of such gigantic proportions has to offer to the eager and enterprising spirit that so powerfully animates them in the service of the cause of Baha'u'llah. Though lacking in experience and faced with insufficient resources, yet the adventurous spirit which they possess and the vigor, the alertness and optimism they have thus far so consistently shown qualify them to play an active part in arousing the interest and in securing the allegiance of their fellow youth in those countries. No greater demonstration can be given to the peoples of both continents of the youthful vitality and the vibrant power animating the life and the institutions of the nascent faith of Baha'u'llah than an intelligent, persistent, and effective participation of the Baha'i youth of every race, nationality, and class in both the teaching and administrative spheres of Baha'i activity. Through such a participation, the critics and enemies of the faith, watching with varying degrees of skepticism and resentment the evolutionary processes of the cause of God and its institutions, can best be convinced of the indubitable truth that such a cause is intensely alive, is sound to its very core, and its destinies in safekeeping. I hope and indeed pray that such a participation may not only redound to the glory, the power, and the prestige of the faith, but may also react so powerfully on the spiritual lives and galvanize to such an extent the energies of the youthful members of the Baha'i community as to empower them to display in a fuller measure their inherent capacities and to unfold a further stage in their spiritual evolution under the shadow of the faith of Baha'u'llah. And finally, paragraph 102. Dear Jeremiah, can you read this one for us?
Yes. Paragraph 102. Faithful to the provisions of the charter laid down by the pen of Abdul Baha, I feel it is my duty to draw the special attention of those to whom it has been entrusted to the urgent needs of and the special position enjoyed by the Republic of Panama, both in view of its relative proximity to the heart and the center of the faith in North America, and of its geographical position as the link between two continents. All the above countries, Abdul Baha, referring to the Latin states in one of the tablets of the Divine Plan, has written, have importance, but especially the Republic of Panama, wherein the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans come together through the Panama Canal. It is a center for travel and passage from America to the other continents of the world, and in the future it will gain most great importance. Likewise, he again has written, ye must give great attention to the Republic of Panama, for in that point the Occident and Orient find each other united through the Panama Canal, and it is also situated between the two great oceans. That place will become very important in the future. The teachings, once established there, will unite the East and the West, the North and the South. So privileged a position surely demands the special and prompt attention of the American Baha'i community. That's really neat.
Right?
Never heard that. Sorry.
No, excellent. Thank you so much, dear Jeremiah. So there we are. And one last closing part of paragraph 102, dear Jeremiah?
With the Republic of Mexico already opened up to the faith, and with the spiritual assembly properly constituted in its capital city, the southward penetration of the faith of Baha'u'llah into a neighboring country is but a natural and logical step, and should, it is to be hoped, prove to be not a difficult one. No efforts should be spared, and no sacrifice be deemed too great to establish, even though it be a very small group in a republic occupying both spiritually and geographically so strategic a position, a group which, in view of the potency with which the words of Abdul Baha have already endowed it, cannot but draw to itself, as soon as it is formed, the outpouring grace of the Baha kingdom, and evolved with such marvelous swiftness as to excite the wonder and the admiration of even those who have already witnessed such stirring evidences of the force and power of the faith of Baha'u'llah. Preference, no doubt, should be given by all the would-be pioneers, as well as by the members of the Inter-American Committee, to the spiritual needs of this privileged republic, though every effort should, at the same time, be exerted to introduce the faith, however tentatively, to the republics of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica, which would link it in an unbroken chain with its mother assemblies in the North American continent.
And lastly,
obstacles, however formidable, should be surmounted. The resources of the Baha'i treasury should be liberally expanded on its behalf, and the ablest and most precious exertions should be consecrated to the cause of its awakening. The erection of yet another outpost of the faith in its heart will constitute, I firmly believe, a landmark in the history of the formative period of the faith of Baha'u'llah in the New World. It will create limitless opportunities, galvanize the efforts, and reinvigorate the life of those who will have accomplished this feat, and infuse immense courage and boundless joy into the hearts of the isolated groups and individuals in the neighboring and distant republics, and exert intangible yet powerful spiritual influences on the life and future development of its peoples.
thank you very much. Thank you. So there we are, dear friends, paragraphs 95 through 102. Okay. It first starts off with more instructions. And as mentioned, these are counsels, right? More counsels. Consort with all men, right? These are instructions from Baha'u'llah. And it opens that we should consort in a friendly manner with all sections of the population, irrespective of class, creed, nationality, color, and familiarize ourselves with the ideas and tastes and habits and study their approach. This is for anyone that is going to be a travel teacher or settler, a pioneer. So we don't just go to these places and per se impose our ideas, our cultures and habits or whatever on those inhabitants. We have to be aware of the customs, traditions, and tastes and habits and study their approach, as well as study the approach that is best suited to them. So we don't have a formulaic form of teaching. So we study the approach that is best suited to them. You see, this is the words of the beloved guardian here. To concentrate patiently, tactfully on a few who have shown marked capacity and receptivity, and then endeavor with extreme kindness to implant such love, zeal, and devotion. So here in this one paragraph 95, the beloved guardian is very carefully outlining in very clear words how to teach. Every one of these words are very important and cannot be per se taken out of the text because they're all very important in here. We should study the approach best suited for teaching. We should concentrate patiently, tactfully on a few who have shown marked capacity as well as receptivity, and endeavor with extreme kindness and implant such love, zeal, and devotion in their hearts. So this is what we should implant in the hearts that we are trying to nurture, trying to raise, in a sense, lovingly, kindly, and patiently. And so we should be implanting love and zeal as well as devotion in their hearts to enable them to become in turn what? What is they're going to become in turn? Self-sufficient and independent promoters of the faith. So in essence, we are trying to grow, in essence, new saplings, new trees that are going to be teachers of the cause. And so this is our ultimate goal. And then here, this is the wonderful extract from His Holiness Baha'u'llah. He says, consort with all men, O people of Baha, in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. And then Baha'u'llah here, really saying what we have as the Baha'i faith. He says, if you be aware of a certain truth, if ye possess a jewel of which others are deprived. So here Baha'u'llah is saying, if you possess a jewel, and what is this jewel? The Baha'i faith, the message of Baha'u'llah. If ye possess this jewel which others are deprived, then Baha'u'llah says to do what? Share it with them in a language of utmost kindliness and goodwill. I share an anecdote. This is funny. So there was a wonderful Baha'i teacher in the South, and this guy his heart was burning. He loved Baha'u'llah so much, but his approach was a little rough at times, right? And so sometimes he would go up to someone and he'd say, have you heard of Baha'u'llah? And then the person said, no, I've never heard of, what is that? What is that? And then he would get so animated and excited, and his presentation at times would be a little bit like, what? You can't, he'd get so excited and he would get like, you haven't heard of Baha'u'llah? And then he would make them feel uncomfortable and tense and stressed and that they haven't heard of this message, right? So how we come across is also very important, right? So you have to share it in a language of utmost kindliness, not to make the hearer stressed or not to make them feel burdened, and because you're presenting a gift to them. If anyone should refuse it, this is very important. If anyone should refuse it, leave him unto himself, as well as beseech God to guide him. Then beware lest ye deal unkindly with him. And this is from also the quoted in our Ruhi books. It says, a kindly tongue is the lodestone of the hearts of men. And a lodestone, as we all know, is a magnet, right? So if you have a kindly tongue, this is how we can attract the hearts of men. It is the bread of the spirit. It clotheth the words of meaning. It is the fountain of the light of wisdom and understanding. So having a kindly tongue is really how you can attract people's hearts, showing your love to them. So there we are, paragraph 95, and then paragraph 96, very important. I'll just highlight a part here in paragraph 96. Okay, I'll read the lines because this is so pivotally important of how, these are counsels of how to teach and what not to do, right? Care, however, should at all times be exercised, lest in their eagerness to further the international interests of the faith, they frustrate their purpose and turn away through any act that might be misconstrued as an attempt to proselytize and bring undue pressure upon them, those whom they wish to win over the cause. So in our eagerness and love and zeal for teaching, we have to be very careful not to proselytize, because that is forbidden in our faith. So we shouldn't be so zealous and excited and that we engage in proselytization. So this is forbidden. Here, this is the counsel from the beloved guardian. And then this is again paragraph 97. Center your energies, right? More directing the Baha'i community to center our energies. Here, I'll read this. Let me see. Center your energies are Baha'u'llah's words in the propagation of the faith of God. Whoso is worthy of so high a calling, let him arise and promote it. And whoso is unable, it is his duty to appoint him who will in his stead proclaim this revelation, whose power hath caused the foundations of the mightiest structures to quake, every mountain to be crushed into dust, and every soul to be dumbfounded. So in this pivotal paragraph 97, he's saying it is our duty. Again, how many times has he said this is our duty to teach? And so in this paragraph, he says it's your duty. And then he goes further. He says, if you cannot, okay, should they find it impossible to take advantage of so rare and sacred a privilege, should you find it impossible to take advantage of so rare and sacred a privilege, now the beloved guardian is saying what you should do, okay? He says that you should let them, okay, mindful of the words of Baha'u'llah, determine each according to the means at his or her disposal, do what? Appoint a deputy who on that believer's behalf will arise and carry out so noble an enterprise. So you need to appoint a deputy to go and teach on your behalf. Okay? So this is from the words from Baha'u'llah, and we quoted down here is the words of Baha'u'llah. This is the beloved guardian, the words of the beloved guardian. He's saying, if you cannot go out and teach, appoint someone on your behalf to as a deputy to go and teach on your behalf. And as to those who have been able to leave their homes and country and to serve in those regions, whether temporarily or permanently, a special duty which must continually be borne in mind devolves upon them. It should be one of their chief aims to keep, on the one hand, in constant touch with the National Committee. So if you remember in a past paragraph, it was to have this constant communication between the committees, so regular reports, so that you're not left alone. By fulfilling their other duty, they will ensure the smooth efficiency, facilitate the progress, and avert any untoward incidents that might handicap the development of that common enterprise. It's that level of communication is so pivotal and so important. The beloved guardian here in this paragraph 98 is actually restating a paragraph earlier in different language, but similar theme of the importance of communication between the pioneer in the field as well as with the agencies, the Inter-American Committee and the teaching committees and all of these, so that as mentioned, that they will have a constant flow of information and have smooth efficiency, facilitate the progress, as well as avert any untoward incidents that might handicap the development of their common enterprise. So this is all in regards to pioneering. All right. Then we move to paragraph 99, right? Paragraph 99, it would no doubt be of exceptional importance and value, particularly in these times when the various restrictions imposed in those countries make it difficult for a considerable number of pioneers to establish their residence and earn their livelihood in those states. If certain ones among the believers whose income, however slender, provides them with the means of an independent existence, would so arrange their affairs as to be able to reside indefinitely in those countries. So here the beloved guardian is saying, if you can arrange your affairs, if you can make it so that you can arrange your affairs and not be a financial burden on the funds, make it so. Okay? So this is what the beloved guardian says, the sacrifices involved, the courage, the faith, and perseverance it demands are no doubt very great. Their value, however, can never be properly assessed at the present time. And the limitless reward, here now the beloved guardian is talking about a limitless reward, which they who demonstrate them will receive, can never be adequately depicted. So at the opening of paragraph 99, he's saying, if you have the ability to arrange your career, your job, your residence, so that you can not take from the finances of the faith and you can work independently in those countries, that is really what you should do. And so then the beloved guardian is saying, yes, this is incredibly huge sacrifice that you're going to be undertaking. Incredible sacrifice. But it's not just that. You will also receive a limitless reward. And then this is such a cool paragraph. And why I want to say this is such a cool paragraph, because this is, I want to highlight this, because this limitless reward that is addressed here, limitless reward, which they who demonstrate them will receive, can never be adequately depicted. And then they that have forsaken their country is Baha'u'llah's own testament for the purpose of teaching our cause. These, the faithful spirit strengthened through its power by my life. No act, however great, can compare with it, except such deeds as have been ordained by God. And then such a service is indeed the prince of all goodly deeds, the ornament of every goodly act. So yeah, limitless reward. But often when we hear about rewards, we're like, yeah, that's going to be up there, right? Yeah, we're going to have a great, good time up there. If we do good here, it's good time up there. But the beloved guardian goes further. In paragraph 99, he says, such a reward, it should be noted, is not to be regarded as purely an abstract blessing confined to the future life. So it's not just up there. It's not some airy-fairy, reward. The beloved guardian is very clear. What does he say? But also as tangible benefit, which such courage, faith, and perseverance can alone confer in this material world. And then the solid achievements, spiritual as well as administrative, which in the faraway continent of Australasia. And so we're going to talk about some of these people that their stellar achievements that have given them such, places that we're going to be talking about, such high stations, as well as more recently in Bulgaria, representatives, believers from both Canada, United States have accomplished, proclaim in terms unmistakable the nature of those prizes, which even in this world, such sterling heroism is bound to win. So here the beloved guardian is saying this, not just an abstract, reward in the, per se, the Abha kingdom. This is a reward also in this plane. So, okay, and moving on. Then we go to paragraph 100. And this is the paragraph that I'm really going to be highlighting throughout this part of the presentation as well, because the beloved guardian really goes into depth in paragraph 100. He says, I am moved. Now think about this. This is the beloved guardian. He is, imagine the heart of the beloved guardian. He says, I am moved at this juncture. The heart of the beloved guardian is palpitating. He's saying, I am moved at this juncture, as I am reminded of the share which ever since the inception of the faith in the West, the handmaidens of Baha'u'llah, as distinguished from the men, have had in opening up single-handed so many such diversified and widely scattered countries over the whole surface of the globe, not only to pay a tribute to such apostolic fervor as is truly reminiscent of those heroic men who were responsible for the birth of the faith of Baha'u'llah, but also to stress the significance of such a preponderating share. Now, this term right here, dear friends, preponderating share, this is paragraph 100, okay? You see that? The preponderating share, okay? Can you see that's the title right there? Okay, this is paragraph 100. So when they were coming up with titles for the different sections of this early edition of the Advent of Divine Justice, paragraph 100, they put as Preponderating Share, because that is who the handmaidens of the West and what they have taken up. Preponderating Share means the vast, large amount of the work they've taken on. So that is an incredible task. And who were these ladies? We're going to talk about them, such as Martha Root, okay? And so some of these incredible ladies, okay? Among the miracles, this is an incredible paragraph, line here. Among the miracles, Abdul-Baha himself has testified, which distinguished this sacred dispensation is this, that women have evinced a greater boldness than men when enlisted in the ranks of the faith. So great and splendid a testimony applies in particular to the West, and though it has received thus far abundant and convincing confirmation, must, as the years roll away, be further reinforced as the American believers usher in the most glorious phase of their teaching activities under the 7-year plan. The boldness which, in the words of Abdul-Baha, has characterized their accomplishments in the past must suffer no eclipse as they stand on the threshold of still greater and nobler accomplishments. Nay, rather, it must in the course of time and throughout the length and breadth of the vast and virgin territories of Latin America be more convincingly demonstrated. So it's saying, don't give up on this courage. Don't give up on your boldness. You gotta be greater, right? He says, be more convincingly demonstrated and win for the beloved cause victories more stirring than any has yet achieved. So then we go to paragraph 101. Now, paragraph 101 is to the youth, okay? So this is the youth paragraph, okay? And so this paragraph, okay, is very reminiscent of, let me pull it. I believe it's paragraph 16 off the top of my head. Yes, man, I'm pretty good at this thing, right? So paragraph 16, okay? So if you have your Advent handy, okay, first we're going to read a little opening part of paragraph 101, and then we're going to scroll back to paragraph 16. And why I'm doing this, because I want you to see, per se, the nascent stage of where the American Baha'i community is, okay? And the similar language that the beloved guardian uses to the American Baha'i community, as well as when he addresses the youth. So you can see that he's actually almost comparing the Baha'i community, American Baha'i community, as a youth, you know? So it's very interesting. So here, let's read this. To the Baha'i youth of America, moreover, I feel a word should be addressed in particular, as I survey the possibilities which a campaign of such gigantic proportions has to offer to the eager and enterprising spirit that so powerfully animates them in the service of the cause of Baha'u'llah. Okay, here we go. Though lacking in experience and faced with insufficient resources, yet the adventurous spirit which they possess and the vigor, the alertness and optimism they have thus far so consistently shown, qualify them to play an active part in arousing the interest and in securing the allegiance of their fellow youth in those countries. Okay, we'll pause there. Let's scroll to paragraph 16, opening, okay? Why I'm scrolling back is because I want you to see the similar language here. And now the beloved guardian, paragraph 16, earlier where he was addressing the early American Baha'i community, okay? A community relatively negligible in its numerical strength, separated by vast distances from both the focal center of its faith and the land wherein the preponderating mass of its fellow believers reside. Bereft in the main of material resources. Lack of material resources sounds pretty same as this one, right? In paragraph 100, they lack material resources. Lacking in experience and in prominence, sounds like a youth, okay? Ignorant of the beliefs, concepts, and habits of those peoples and races from which its spiritual founders have sprung, wholly unfamiliar with the languages in which its sacred books were originally revealed, constrained to place its sole reliance upon an inadequate rendering of only a fragmentary portion of the literature embodying its laws, tenets, and histories, and subjected from its infancy to tests of extreme severity involving at times the defection of some of its most prominent members, and having to contend ever since inception and in an ever-increasing measure with the forces of corruption, moral laxity, and ingrained prejudice, such a community, and no less than half a century and unaided by any of its sister communities, whether in the East or West, has by virtue of the celestial potency with which an all-loving master has unboundedly endowed it, lent an impetus to the onward march of the cause it has espoused, which the combined achievements of its co-religionists in the West have failed to rival. Right? So, those were the challenges. It sounds very youthful like. In my eyes, ignorant, lacking of resources, it doesn't have anything going for it per se. But what happens here? Now read the opening of paragraph 17. What other community? This is now the old, what other community? What an incredible paragraph, paragraph 17. Now, this is the second what other community part line. What other community has been capable of demonstrating with such consistency the resourcefulness, the discipline, the iron determination, the zeal and perseverance, the devotion and fidelity so indispensable to the erection and continued extension of the framework within which those nascent institutions can alone multiply and mature. Zeal. What word would you think zeal is closest to? Zeal is youth, vigor. This Baha'i community, American Baha'i community, the American Baha'i community, the beloved guardian, is tying it to youth-like, having that youthful spirit. So that's why I wanted to jump back to from paragraph 101 to paragraph 16 and 17 to show that, yeah, this American Baha'i community, though lacking in resources, lacking in a lot of things, really, being far away from the land of its origin, but still, what other community, has done all of these achievements, as in paragraph 17. So then we enter paragraph 102. This is the paragraph where it's saying the importance of Panama. This is the importance of Panama paragraph, as well as highlighting the Republic of Mexico, as well as the spiritual needs of the republics of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. And so this is the paragraph that is highlighting those areas, okay? So really focusing on Panama in this paragraph 102, okay? So there we are. Now let's get through them. This is checking our time. We got an hour. So this is going to be awesome. Are you guys ready? Here we go. In these paragraphs, the beloved guardian provides more practical guidance on the different aspects of the teaching campaign initiated to the territories in Latin America. The beloved guardian, Shoghi Effendi, is also highlighting the role of women as well as youth in this campaign and the significance of their active participation. So these are the main key points, paragraphs 95 through 102. And if you're asking me, Ehsan, how many paragraphs are there in the Advent? It's 124. So right now we're getting to 102. So we're getting to roughly the close of our text as we're entering into this part 21. So the beloved guardian advises travel teachers and pioneers to mix in a friendly manner. Consort, O people, right? This is from Baha'u'llah. Consort in a friendly manner with all people in that society and acquaint themselves with their cultures while concentrating on those who have shown receptivity. So focus, people, focus with the heart, connect heart to heart, focus on those who have shown receptivity. The value of pioneering and travel teaching could not be properly assessed at that time, and the reward that pioneers would receive is limitless. So I share another anecdote. There was a wonderful pioneer in India where the faith has really taken off, where there are more Baha'is in India than anywhere else. There was a wonderful Baha'i that went to India, and he was going from village to village and teaching. And as he was going from village to village, he was literally teaching the friends and scattering the fragrances of Baha'u'llah by teaching, and literally, like as they say, scattering the seeds. You know, wherever he went, he would teach. You go to if he was going to get a haircut, he would go and teach the barber. If he was going to get his shoes polished, he would go talk to the shoe polisher. If he was going anywhere, he would just happen to mention, because his heart was so burning. Anywhere he went to grocery store, he would share the faith with the grocery attendant. If he went to go to the fields to get some milk, he would share it with the person that was per se milking the cows or whatever. Anywhere he would go, he would share the message of Baha'u'llah. And as any pioneer would, he would write his per se, his events, what were going on, and write them back to the beloved guardian. So this was a constant communication. And after a while, he was feeling down, right? He was feeling down. There's no victories right now. I'm not feeling any progress. There's nothing, no one is accepting of the message. And the beloved guardian wrote back and says, your role is of scattering the seeds. Have patience, have patience. So because our job is not to per se, is not to grow the seeds. Our job is to be the scatterer of the seeds, to keep at it, and scatter as widely and as constantly the seeds of the message of Baha'u'llah. And so even before this wonderful Baha'i passed away, there was a great harvest, as they say. So many wonderful communities opened because of this wonderful Baha'i. And so this is really, this is what we're called and tasked to, and to keep at it, be a seed scatter constantly. The beloved guardian refers to the victories won at the time in Bulgaria, as well as Australasia. And we're going to talk about this wonderful lady who went to Bulgaria, as well as the couple who went to Australasia, these North American believers. And these are examples the beloved guardian is giving of as well as the rewards that these individuals received in building the community. The beloved guardian admires the work of the women in the West, the handmaidens of Baha'u'llah, who have made a significant contribution to the progress of the faith and its establishment. The preponderating share, as the words of the beloved guardian, preponderating share that they have taken, and its establishment throughout the world since the inception of the cause in the Western countries. As well as the Baha'i youth, although they don't have much experience at this stage, as well as resources, they possess an adventurous spirit, vigor, alertness, and optimism. So as a Baha'i community, as institutions, as as a Baha'i community, we should task them, encourage them, utilize our Baha'i youth, and not just say, oh, they're in the back, they're in our feasts. Are there any Baha'i youth to share a prayer? How are you utilizing your Baha'i youth, in your communities? Are you encouraging them? Are they part and parcel of your committees? Are they part and parcel? Because the youth should be at the spearhead of your teaching activities. They should be at the spearhead of your activities as a community, because they have what? Adventurous spirit, vigor, alertness, and optimism. So they should be part and parcel. And also they will be our future administrators. They'll be our future teachers. They'll be our future of our Baha'i communities. So we should encourage them and be part of our whole Baha'i community life. And in the tablets of the Divine Plan, His Holiness Abdul Baha has mentioned that all the countries in Latin America, but in particular Panama, will become important in the future. This is a very interesting, and for me, it's not just a geographical significance. The significance will be made well into the future. It's not just connecting an ocean to another ocean. It's so much more the significance of Panama that Abdul Baha is mentioning, the significance of Panama. And we'll talk about that. So here we go. Let's get into it. This is going to be an awesome study. So I'm just going to adjust myself. Here we go. So dear Scott, if you could read this slide, and we're going to start going through our slides. Here we go.
Sure. In paragraphs 95 to 99, the beloved guardian provides further counsels for the teachers and pioneers who arose during the 7-year plan to open the virgin territories to the faith. In paragraph 95, Shoghi Effendi recommends that the travel teachers and pioneers should mix in a friendly manner with all the local people and acquaint themselves with every aspect of their culture, while concentrating on those souls who have shown receptivity. Shoghi Effendi then cites a statement from Baha'u'llah on how the teachings of the faith should be shared with others. And two of those quotes are, consort with followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. And also, a kindly tongue is the lodestone of the hearts of men. It is the bread of the spirit. It clotheth the words with meaning. It is the fountain of the light of wisdom and understanding.
Excellent. Thank you, dear Scott. Okay. And in these paragraphs of 95 through 99, the beloved guardian provides further counsels for the teachers and pioneers who rose during the 7-year plan to open the virgin territories to faith. And in paragraph 96, the beloved guardian counsels every individual believer, whether a member of a Baha'i institution or a prospective teacher of the faith, to seize any opportunity to get to know people who are citizens of pioneering countries or have some connection to them. They should plant the seeds of belief in their hearts through kindness and sharing the literature of the faith without placing any pressure on them or attempting to proselytize. And here's, faith is like a seed, make it grow. So we should plant the seed of belief in their hearts, and through kindness, as well as sharing the literature of the faith with them. And then we move to paragraph 97. The beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi is calling on American believers with American professions to permanently live and work in these pioneering posts where they can earn their means of livelihood. This will help to reduce the increasing pressures on the teaching fund. If it proves impossible to take advantage of such a privilege, they should appoint a deputy pioneer and teach on their behalf. Beloved Guardian Shoghi Effendi then cites a statement from His Holiness Baha'u'llah on teaching deputization. So this is in paragraph 97. And this is from Saint Ignatius Loyola. Go forth and set the world on fire. I love that quote because that is the call of Baha'u'llah. Go forth and set the world on fire. That is what we really need to do as a teacher of the cause. Go forth. And in paragraph 98 is this stay in touch have this constant line of communication, right? Stay in touch. In paragraph 98, the beloved guardian states that pioneers and travel teachers should be in constant communication with the National Committee of North America to receive stimulus and necessary guidance. They should also cooperate with fellow believers in their pioneering countries to facilitate the progress of the faith. This will set an example for the future generations who will continue the work. So to have this constant communication. If you're going to go to, Bahamas and go pioneering, yeah, have fun, enjoy yourself. But have a constant, but you don't just go there and, sit on the islands and say, I'm here, I'm pioneering, but there's no reports there. You're not getting any guidelines or hearing any reports. So you have to have constant communication. And then 10 years later, you say, I've been pioneering here 10 years, that doesn't cut it. You got to have this constant communication of what you're doing. Okay. In paragraph 99, the beloved guardian acknowledges the difficulty of the task of establishing a residence and earning a livelihood for a considerable number of Baha'i pioneers. It would be of great importance if some pioneers can live on an income from their home country, even though sparse, and reside indefinitely in the pioneering countries. The beloved guardian cites an utterance in which His Holiness Baha'u'llah exhorts those who forsake their country to teach the faith. And this is from Mr. Dolan Oakes. This is what he says. The foremost quality of our pioneers was faith. With faith in God, they did what every pioneer does. They stepped forward into the unknown. So that's really, to a degree, what pioneering is. It's having faith and then stepping forth out into the unknown. It's that level of faith. And we're going to hear about some of these incredible pioneers that having that degree of faith and out of love, perseverance, obedience, and went forth. And then again in paragraph 99, the beloved guardian is stating that the value of pioneering and travel teaching cannot be properly assessed. And this is something that is across the board on pretty much anything that we do good in the cause, okay? If you do recitation of your obligatory prayer or, fasting, or you may do anything that Baha'u'llah has said as an ordinance, but especially, I cannot stress this enough, but especially teaching. There is no way to assess the reward. And this is from the words of Baha'u'llah, the words of the beloved guardian. You cannot properly assess the reward for teaching. It's so incredible, is the reward for teaching. And that the reward for pioneering itself is limitless. The reward for a pioneer is more than a blessing conferred on those souls and in the future life, and will include solid spiritual and administrative achievements. The victories won at the time in Bulgaria and Australasia by the North American believers were good examples of the nature of these rewards. And this is a quote from Baha'u'llah. Teaching our cause is indeed the prince of all goodly deeds and the ornament of every goodly act. Yeah. Makes you think, about your time usage in life, it makes you think if this is really what life is and if this is the prince of all goodly deeds and the ornament of every goodly act, and we all have finite space of time in our life, and we don't know when we're going to go, God, I driving home, I could suddenly have a car accident, that's the end of me. But how much time am I actually engaging in the prince of all goodly deeds, in the teaching work itself, right? So the reality is, how much time are we engaged in teaching? That should be the question that every one of us should think about when we wake up. How can we spend more quality time engaged to teach the cause? Now, here we go, dear friends. So now we're entering into paragraphs 100. And so now we're going to get into these ladies, okay? These incredible ladies. But before we get into it, paragraph 99 mentions the first lady, okay? And if you recall, this lady from Bulgaria, I mentioned Bulgaria, right? So based on the messages of the beloved guardian, it can be suggested that the reference to Bulgaria in paragraph 99 is to the sacrifices made and the victories achieved by Marian Jack, a Canadian Baha'i pioneer to Bulgaria. Marian Jack was born in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, on the 1st December, 1866. She studied art in England and France and specialized in landscape painting. And she was introduced to the faith at a social gathering while she was studying in Paris. In 1908, she traveled to the Holy Land and spent some time in Akka teaching English to Abdu'l-Baha's grandchildren. And during this period, she had the privilege of spending time with His Holiness Abdu'l-Baha. His Holiness Abdu'l-Baha admired her sense of humor, her cheerfulness, and certitude. And he gave her the nickname General Jack, which I find so cool, by the way. Her General Jack. So this is young General Jack at the age of 18, okay? So here's General Jack. Her actions speak louder than words. And through Marian Jack's deeds, we can glimpse the transformative effect the faith had on her life. And this is something that I want every one of you to ponder, okay? The faith should transform your life. This is what the faith does. It has a transformative power, if you allow it to, if you immerse yourself in it, okay? And if you say, I'm not really sure the faith has a transformative effect, are you actually drinking the faith in, or are you just standing at the shores of it? But if you are drinking and immersing yourself in the faith will have a transformative effect on you. Naturally, it happens. And she was immersed in the faith. And she wasn't just drinking it in, the faith was part and parcel of her life. She was doing it, living it, breathing it, and active in it, transformative. Okay? In 1931, at the age of 65, okay, she moved to Bulgaria, following the guardian's request that she pioneer to that country. 65 years old. Okay, I think that's the age of retirement, right? 65. Okay, now the beloved guardian said, go pioneer to Bulgaria. Okay, it's not an easy country to go pioneering, first of all. Okay, so a few years later, when the imminence of the war was clear, she pleaded with the guardian to let her stay at her pioneer post. Okay, now war is on the horizon. Okay, remember World War, what is it? II? Yeah, World War II is coming up. Okay, she's actually pleading with the beloved guardian. Can I stay here? Okay, who does that? Okay, Bulgaria is not an easy country, first of all, to pioneer in, but she's actually begging the beloved guardian to let her stay at her pioneering post after he suggested that she should move to a safer country. In spite of poverty, poor health, first during the war, world economic depression, then during the war, and finally through the difficulties of living behind the Iron Curtain, she remained steadfast in her efforts to teach the faith in her adoptive country. And she passed away 27th March 1954, aged 87 years old. This is her, Mary and Jack, okay, with the Bahá'ís of Sofia in Bulgaria, 1932. She is seated fourth from the left, okay, in the second row, right there. Next to Lina Benki, who with her husband, George Adam Benki, is holding the photograph of Abdul Baha, right there. This couple right here. Two Baha'is in the front row are displaying a representation of the calligraphy of Baha'u'llah's name, the Esma'azam. Ya Baha'u'llah Pa. And this is a message. This is from a letter written on the behalf of the beloved guardian to the European Teaching Committee. This is after the passing of General Jack. In a message written on his behalf to the European Teaching Committee dated 24th May 1954, the beloved guardian referred to Mary and Jack as an example for those who leave their homes to serve in foreign lands. For over 30 years, with an enlarged heart and many other ailments, she remained at her post in Bulgaria. Never well-to-do, she often suffered actual poverty and want of heat, want of clothing, want of food, when her money failed to reach her because Bulgaria had come under the Soviet zone of influence. She was bombed, lost her possessions. She was evacuated. She lived in drafty, cold dormitories for many, many months in the country. She returned valiant to the capital of Bulgaria after the war and continued on foot to carry out her teaching work. The guardian himself urged her strongly when the war first began to threaten to cut her off in Bulgaria, to go to Switzerland. She was a Canadian subject and ran great risks by remaining, not to mention the danger and the privations of war. However, she begged the guardian not to insist and assured him her one desire was to remain with her spiritual children. This she did up to the last breath of her glorious life. Her tomb will become a national shrine, immensely loved and revered as the faith rises in stature in that country. He thinks that every Baha'i, and most particularly those who have left their homes and gone to serve in foreign lands, should know of and turn their gaze to Mary and Jack. I get goosebumps reading that every time. What a lady, right? What a lady, what a lady. Wow. What stalwartness, what steadfastness she had during such difficulties over her pioneering post, being bombed, being hungry, want of heat, want of clothing, want of money, and evacuated. And the beloved guardian says, I'll even cut you off. But she says, I want to stay because these are my spiritual children. And the beloved guardian consented because she's being staying to her pioneering post. And her resting place is National Shrine. So here's another cablegram from the beloved guardian. This is on her passing. Mourn loss of immortal heroine Marian Jack, greatly loved and deeply admired by Abdul Baha, a shining example to pioneers of present and future generations of East and West, surpassed in constancy, dedication, self-abnegation, and fearlessness by none except the incomparable Martha Root. Her unremitting, highly meritorious activities in the course of almost half a century, both in North America and Southeast Europe, attaining their climax in the darkest, most dangerous phase of the Second World War, shed imperishable luster on contemporary Baha'i history. This triumphant soul is now gathered to the distinguished band of her co-workers in the Abha Kingdom, Martha Root, Lua Getzinger, May Maxwell, Hyde Dunn, Susan Moody, Keith Ransom Keller, Ella Bailey, and Dorothy Baker, whose remains lying in such widely scattered areas of the globe as Honolulu, Cairo, Buenos Aires, Sydney, Tehran, Isfahan, Tripoli, and the depths of the Mediterranean Sea attest the magnificence of the pioneer services rendered by the North American Baha'i community in the apostolic and formative ages of the Baha'i dispensation. Advise, arrange in association with the Canadian National Assembly and the European Teaching Committee a befitting memorial gathering in the Mashal Askar. Move to share with the United States and Canadian National Assemblies the expenses of the erection as soon as circumstances permit of a worthy monument at her grave, destined to confer eternal benediction on a country already honored by its close proximity to the sacred city associated with the proclamation of the faith of Baha'u'llah. Shoghi, Haifa, Israel, March 29th, 1954. So there we are. This is the cablegram from the beloved guardian announcing on her passing. And this is her resting place that will become a national shrine. So Marian Jack, immortal heroine, shining example to the pioneers, passed from this life, March 25th, 1954. 24 years as a pioneer of the Baha'i faith. They're buried there in the British cemetery. Okay, moving on. I'll let our dear Scott read this slide. Now we're moving on to Australasia. This is also mentioned in that paragraph.
The achievements in Australasia mentioned by Shoghi Effendi referred to the emergence and development of the faith there as a result of the work of Clara and Hyde Dunn, who left their home in the United States and took the message of Baha'u'llah to Australia. Hyde Dunn was born in London in 1855 and worked as a traveling salesman in Britain and continental Europe before migrating to the United States. At a tinsmith shop in Seattle in 1905, Dunn saw the shopkeeper in conversation with a man who was known as Ward Fitzgerald, who had just returned from the prison of Akka, where he had met Abdul Baha. Hyde overheard Ward Fitzgerald quoting the spoken word by Baha'u'llah to E.G. Brown, "This earth is one country and mankind its citizens. Regard ye not one another as strangers." Hyde was attracted to these words and soon accepted the faith. There's a picture of Ward Fitzgerald. Yeah.
So Hyde Dunn met Clara David in 1907 in Washington and taught her the faith, which she accepted after a while. Both Clara and Hyde met Abdul Baha in California in 1912, and being in the presence of Abdul Baha gave them both a spiritual energy and strength that sustained them through the remainder of their lives. Hyde and Clara married in 1917, and they settled in Berkeley. So here's a picture of Mr. Hyde Dunn and Miss Clara Dunn. In 1919, Hyde and Clara Dunn learned of the call of Abdul Baha in the tablets of the Divine Plan to the Bahá'ís of North America, to the message of Baha'u'llah to distant lands to which he was not able to travel himself. They decided to rise to the call and take the faith to Australia. And to reduce the cost, Clara suggested that Hyde might go alone. They sent a cable to Abdul Baha asking what course of action to take. He replied they should both go together. And this is a copy of the Blessed Tablet, revealed Saturday morning, April 1st, 1916 at Bahá'í, in honor of the friends of the 11 Western states of the United States of America. So this is one of the tablets of the Divine Plan to the Western states. Hyde and Clara Dunn arrived in Sydney on the 3rd of February, 1920. They initially had some financial constraints until Clara found a job. Hyde started working as a traveling salesman within a year, working in country towns during the week and returning home on weekends. Clara stayed in Sydney, inviting people to the meetings organized for the weekends in which Hyde spoke. So very interesting how they designed their occupations to be perfect for the teaching work. So how Hyde was per se a traveling salesman. And so he met a whole lot of people. But the weekends were dedicated for firesides. Hyde and Clara Dunn managed to foster the development of small and isolated Baha'i communities across Australia and New Zealand. And the first Australian local spiritual assembly was established in Melbourne in December of 1923, followed by others in Perth in July of 1924, Adelaide in December 1924, and Sydney, April 1925. As well as a local spiritual assembly was formed in Auckland in 1923. So all through their efforts of traveling salesmen, as they say, and going and meeting people and connecting heart to heart and looking for that receptivity and inviting them to their home, these communities started opening. This is the first Baha'i feast in New Zealand, 1923. And you'd Hands of the Cause of God, in the back, these are Mr. Hyde Dunn, John Henry Hyde Dunn, Miss Clara Dunn. They're pictured in their back row. First Baha'i feast in New Zealand. The beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi stressed the necessity of forming a national assembly in Australia and New Zealand when Clara met him during her pilgrimage in 1932. The National Spiritual Assembly of Australia and New Zealand was elected in 1934. Mr. Hyde Dunn passed away in Sydney on the 7th of February, 1941. This is one of his titles, Australia's Spiritual Conqueror. Mr. Hyde Dunn, Hand of the Cause of God. This is the first National Convention of the Bahá'ís of Australia and New Zealand. This is for the election of the National Spiritual Assembly of the Bahá'ís of Australia and New Zealand to elect the first National Spiritual Assembly. And you could see Mr. Hyde Dunn is seated here. And this is the first National Spiritual Assembly of the Bahá'ís of Australia and New Zealand, 1934, right here. And at right, Mr. and Mrs. Hyde Dunn, Bahá'í teachers in Australia. And at left, Miss Amy Stevenson. This is a Bahá'í of Auckland, New Zealand. Constantly they were teaching, constantly. Inviting them to their homes to teach. After the passing of Mr. Hyde Dunn, the Bahá'ís turned to Clara and expected her to give the talks to them. And in 1943, she settled in Brisbane for several months. She then resumed her travels, which had been interrupted by Hyde's illness, visiting Bahá'ís in major cities and country towns. The beloved guardian appointed Clara and Hyde Dunn posthumously as hands of the cause on the 29th of February, 1952. And after a lifetime of tireless service, Clara passed away on the 18th of November, 1960. And she has also the title of Spiritual Conqueror of a Continent. This is from the beloved guardian in the book that he wrote, God Passes By. So I'm going to let my dear friend Scott read this one. Go for it, dear Scott.
Sure. In God Passes By, Shoghi Effendi refers to the opening of Australia and New Zealand by the great-hearted and heroic Hyde Dunn. A new continent was opened to the cause when, in response to the tablets of the divine plan, unveiled at the first convention after the war, the great-hearted and heroic Hyde Dunn, at the advanced age of 62, promptly forsook his home in California and, seconded and accompanied by his wife, settled as a pioneer in Australia, where he was able to carry the message to no less than 700 towns throughout that commonwealth.
Wow. It's no excuse, you know.
Yep.
There's no excuse saying I'm old, I'm tired, whatever. These people are doing it at advanced age and traveling and going to no less than 700 towns teaching. And you can see him seated here at in this gathering with his wife. And this is their resting place, the Dunns. John Henry Hyde Dunn, Clara May, Hands of the Cause of God, first Bahá'í pioneers of Australasia. The Dunns. Immortalized heroes, hero and heroine, mentioned in Advent of Divine Justice, God Passes By, immortalized heroes of Australasia. So we move to paragraph 100, checking our time. Okay. Now, paragraph 100, this is the incredible paragraph of the beloved guardian in Advent to Divine Justice, where the beloved guardian is admiring the work of the women in the West who have made this significant contribution. The words is preponderating share, right? It made this significant contribution to the progress of the faith and its establishment throughout the world since the inception of the cause in Western countries. The beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi then cites a statement from Abdul Baha declaring that one of the miracles of this dispensation of Baha'u'llah is that women have shown greater boldness than men. And the beloved guardian then emphasizes the necessity for women to exercise this boldness more evidently through the virgin territories of Latin America to achieve greater victories for the faith. So bravery is the audacity to be unhindered by failures and to walk with freedom, strength, and hope in the face of things unknown. I found that quote pretty spot on, as they say. What is bravery? If someone asks you, where the beloved guardian is saying these women have incredible signs of bravery and audacity and boldness, how would you define bravery and audacity? So this quote was hit it on the nail, as they say. Bravery is the audacity to be unhindered by failures and to walk with freedom, strength, and hope in the face of things unknown. And I scroll back because I want you to see this quote. I know it's annoying seeing these slides popping up in your face like that, but I wanted to see this one thing. What was it? Where was that quote? Go forth, stay in touch. Here it is. The foremost quality for our pioneers was faith. With faith in God, they did what every pioneer does. They stepped forward into the unknown, right? That's what a pioneer is. They're stepping forth into the unknown. Bravery, audacity. That is the quality that is called upon. And so let me jump. So okay, here we go. Sorry about that. I wanted you to come back to that because that is the quality that we're talking about. And actually in this entire theme is to go forth, right? The early history of the faith in Europe and North America clearly shows that women have played a critical role in establishing the faith in those regions, as well as taking the message of Baha'u'llah to virgin territories around the world. Women are strong. This is a theme that this paragraph 101 is stating. Women are strong. And this is a wonderful quote from Malala. This is what she says. There are two powers in the world. One is the sword and the other is the pen. And there's a third power. I love this. There's a third power stronger than both, that of women. And it's an under-recognized power in this world. Under-recognized power. And if we as men emphasize that power in everything we do, in our families, in our workplaces, and recognize the station and status of women and give their due credence, their due respect, then the world, women will rightfully arise to that, their own rightful state, because for eons, as they say, men have been having that control and happily enjoying, per se, that level of control, but to men's detriment, actually. It's been to men's detriment. And by the greatest companies, the greatest countries, the greatest are where these companies and countries listen to women and have women side by side to men, and having that standard of where women and men are on an equal platform, and in the sense of listening to and enjoying the voice of women. And that's where it says there are two powers in the world, but it actually is a third, and that third power is women. And if women have their rightful place, truly peace can and will happen. So I think this will be one of our, we're going to have here a lot of these incredible handmaidens coming up, but I think we'll just get through this first one today. So dear Scott, this is our first great lady. Take it away. Here we go.
Sarah Louisa Blomfield was born in Ireland in 1859 but lived primarily in London. She married Arthur Blomfield, who lived from 1829 to 1899, on the 21st of April, 1887, and became Lady Blomfield when he was knighted on the 4th of June, 1889. She accepted the faith in 1907 and became an outstanding Baha'i. Lady Sarah Blomfield hosted Abdu'l-Baha in London and accompanied him in Paris. She took detailed notes of Abdu'l-Baha's talks in Paris that were later published in Paris Talks. Abdu'l-Baha gave Lady Blomfield the Persian name Sitare Hanum, where Sitare meant star and Hanum means madam or lady.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a good book that read a lot of stories that she's written.
Yes, The Chosen Highway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The beloved guardian was in England when he heard the news of the passing of Abdu'l-Baha in London in 1921. Lady Sarah Blomfield accompanied him on his return to Haifa. And in Haifa, Lady Sarah Blomfield recorded her experience of spending time with the Holy Family and her conversations with them. She later published those notes together with her recollections on the days when hosted Abdu'l-Baha in London in The Chosen Highway. Here's a picture of Lady Blomfield. So these are the books, Paris Talks and The Chosen Highway. Interesting note, she saved the life of Abdu'l-Baha. I don't know if most people may know this, but if you have a copy of Abdu'l-Baha, the Center of the Covenant, by Hassan Baliuzi, it's in there. And I don't want to give it away, but when Abdu'l-Baha's life was in great peril, she was the one that contacted the
Allenby?
Yes, exactly. General Allenby to send the forces to go and protect the life of Abdu'l-Baha. So she is an incredible lady. She literally was the one that protected the life of Abdu'l-Baha. And so, what a station this lady has.
Yeah.
So apart from that, apart from her incredible spiritual station for doing great things in the cause, okay, if that's not good enough, what else could you do, right? So here we go. Here's another thing. Around 1920, Lady Blomfield decided to spend part of each year in Geneva, and it was there that she befriended Egalitine Jeb, founder of Save the Children Fund, and set up an assisting group, the Blomfield Fund, and under the sponsorship of Lord Weardale in London. And during this time, she used her considerable influence to get the 5-point text drawn up by the Save the Children Fund International of the Geneva Declaration, accepted by the League in 1924, which eventually was expanded into the Declaration of the Rights of the Child by the United Nations General Assembly in 1959.
Oh.
So through her efforts, the Declaration of the Rights of the Child was chartered by the United Nations through the efforts of Lady Blomfield, as well as she was one of the foremost founders of the Save the Children Fund, which is one of the oldest and most famous children funds there is in existence, Save the Children International. And this is the document, the Declaration of Geneva. On 26th of November 1924, the League of Nations adopted the Geneva Declaration on the Rights of the Child. This is the first international document promoting child rights. It's never been done before. Before, children were, labor, working, but because of her efforts, now children had rights. And this was a stepping stone towards contemporary protection of children's rights. Incredible, incredible lady. Lady Blomfield, she also served for 8 years as a member of the National Spiritual Assembly of the British Isles. She gave many talks about the faith, supported artistic activities in the community, including those of a Baha'i theatre group in London. She maintained correspondence with Baha'is all over the world. And her daughter, Mary Basil Hall, who had been given the name of Parveen, a Persian name of a star by Abdul Baha, served the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the British Isles for 5 years. And she described her mother as a wonderful personality and a deeply loved mother who faced difficulties with a radiant acquiescence and invincible faith. It was partly due to Mrs. Hall's generous bequest that the National Spiritual Assembly was able to buy what is now the National Baha'i Center at 27 Rutland Gate, London. And this is, you can see here, Abul Qasim Afnan with Dorothy and John Farabee standing in front of the National Baha'i Center, 1954. So this is out of the generosity of the daughter of Lady Blomfield. And here is the headstone of Lady Blomfield, Sitare Khanum. Lady Blomfield passed away December 31st, 1939. And on learning of her passing, the beloved guardian sent this following cable. Profoundly grieve passing dearly beloved, outstanding co-worker, Sitare Khanum. Memory her glorious services imperishable. Advise English community hold befitting memorial gatherings. Assure relatives my heartfelt sympathy, loving, fervent prayers. All right, we will pause there for today. Checking time we have many more incredible stars of handmaidens to come up. So for next week. So as they say, we'll save those for next week. So any thoughts, insights, learnings from today's session? I hope you enjoyed our session today. But really, what an incredible individuals we covered, from the Duns to General Jack to Lady Blomfield, as well as the sacrifices that each one of them undertook. I'm still, when I hear the story of General Jack, being bombed and, just not knowing where clothes or poverty, living in that state. And then for the Duns, he just left, age of 62, just, okay, I'm going to go to Australia. He didn't know anyone. He just goes. There's no Baha'i community, no nothing, and just goes and arrives there and just finds a job. He didn't even have a job. His wife finds a job, and they just started arranging gatherings to teach. And they made it work. And that's love, that's obedience. That's the spirit that we should have. I love that. I mean, when you read this thing, it gives you energy and makes you just want to engage. And that's just me. And I that's why we should read their stories and bring their spirit into our lives. Yeah. So, yeah. Any thoughts? No.
Yeah, Ehsan, it was amazing, the whole presentation, being able to talk about these luminous stars, these handmaidens that rose, that did something for the faith. It's very beautiful that you're able to compile all that, in addition to what we're reading from Advent Divine Justice, to give a holistic view of what Shoghi Effendi is talking about.
Sure.
Thank you for all the extensive research and putting it together so nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, dear John. Yeah, next week, Do not miss it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get into so many more of these incredible, per se, luminaries, these stars, these incredible handmaidens that we're going to cover next week. And I've captured videos and everything. So it's going to be pretty cool to see some of these individuals, who they are, what their accomplishments. So don't miss it, as they say. That was a teaser. But anyway, what a pleasure. And let's thank you so much to every one of you. And we'll have our closing prayer. Thank you very much.
I can say it for today. Oh my God, thou seest me in my lowliness and weakness, occupied with the greatest undertaking, determined to raise thy word among the masses and to spread thy teachings among thy peoples. How can I succeed unless thou assist me with the breath of the Holy Spirit? Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, and an atom into lights and suns. Oh my Lord, assist me with a triumphant and effective might, so that my tongue may utter thy praises and attributes among all people, and my soul overflow with the wine of thy love and knowledge. Thou art the omnipotent and the doer of whatsoever thou willest. Looking forward to the next session next week. Allah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Asan.
Thank you very much, Scott.